Welcome to another episode of the Mike and Matt Show with myself, Matt Weber, and my partner and co-host, Michael Strassen. This podcast is designed to help provide insight into the world of real estate investing, entrepreneurship, personal development, and business. Please subscribe, follow, and like the Mike and Matt Show on all podcast platforms. You can listen and watch the show on our YouTube channel, Alpha Funding. Be ready to level up your life and be inspired by some of the most successful investors and business professionals in the game. You'll laugh, you'll learn, you might cry. We hope you enjoy the show. Woo! Mikey.
Matt.
We are back.
Yes, we are.
This is another episode of the Mike and Matt Show podcast. Today, have a special treat for all of you listeners. Michael, yourself, producer Joe. I have my very own personal trainer, Ryan, here with us in studio.
I love it. You know, it's hard to imagine since you're very, I call you Matty Robbins. So it's hard to imagine there's somebody who trains you.
That's right. Even a trainer needs to be trained, ladies and gentlemen. And Ryan, just to give you guys a quick little background on Ryan and me and my connection with him. Before I started working in Alpha Funding, I was a personal trainer. I worked at a bunch of different places, but the last place that I landed at was Lifetime in Berkeley Heights, New Jersey. And Ryan, you were working at Berkeley Heights. How long were you working at Lifetime for about?
I was there for about 7 years.
Yeah, so you were working there for a little while. I came in for a year. That was where I met my partner, Dave, and then eventually, ran off and ran into the, started working in the real estate world. But
I ran away.
There was a point about 4 or 5 years where I felt myself let go, and just sitting in a desk. And if you are somebody that works at a computer, works at a desk, sits a lot, I was always the one who was righteous. And this was my immature and younger me realizing that everybody should just be able to be fit. It's not that difficult. And when I noticed in my late 20s and now my early 30s, feeling the way I felt, I knew I had to make a change. And just lifestyle wise, not making good choices when it comes to your diet, not exercising on a consistent basis. I knew I had to make that change, and I know some people, it's very hard for them to do that. I'm proud, and I know you've said it to me, it's not easy because a lot of people, the hardest thing to do when something like that happens is to take that step, that first step, and walk through the door, and then everything else is downhill from there, because that's usually the hardest thing for people to do, is to say that this is something that they want to work on and then actually take action. But Ryan, my man, dude, I am so grateful for you. Happy to have you here on the show.
Thanks, Matt.
Welcome.
Yeah, Ryan has been a certified personal trainer for 15 years, has a degree from Penn State University. We are
Penn State.
Penn State.
Yeah, that's right. So Mike, actually.
By the way, just people who know me who are going to watch this are going to send me death threats instantaneously.
His wife went to Penn State.
And I went to Rutgers.
Yeah,
it's okay.
Two good places.
Not really, but it's fine. We know what we are. We know that Rutgers students, it's going to be that thing. The thing that other people don't like is when you wear red at State College. It's just not okay. It's not safe.
Mm-hmm. Ryan actually interned with the Penn State athletic department as a strength coach, which is amazing. Because I remember when I went out there, I've gone out there for numerous games, and their facilities are incredible. So just imagining that was where you got to hang out every day, totally jealous. Very envious of you. He's a level 2 holistic coach through the Czech Institute. Ryan is also, and most of you would know, he is the director of Fieldhouse. It's a wellness business that helps working adults transform their lives through fitness, nutrition, and also stress management, which, what I was just talking about, it's big. He's a former athlete, spent years participating in extreme endurance events, which includes competing in 3 Spartan World Championship events. Yeah. That sounds pretty extreme.
It was.
But what we'd like to do anytime we bring somebody on the show, the first thing I want to do is having you tell us and all of our listeners, who is Ryan Kennedy outside of what we just said?
Yeah, so you touched on a lot of stuff there with the bio, but I was a freakishly huge kid. So I had a growth spurt super early in life. So I always gravitated towards stuff that was more strength-based activities and sports and things like that. And I just became very fascinated with the human body and strength. And when I started playing sports, my parents, recognized that I wanted to work out. I was getting ready for football. So they were like, we should probably get him a coach before he like breaks his neck or something. Cause I'm just grabbing stuff and trying to do whatever with it. And so when I was like 14 years old, my parents got me my first weightlifting coach, which was actually in Eatontown, New Jersey. So I was actually born right down the street at Riverview, and I grew up in Red Bank. So it's cool to be here. I grew up like riding my bike through Red Bank every day. So I remember going into this training facility for the first time and watching this, huge guy working with these high school, college, and pro sports teams out of this facility, and watching them, him teach like Olympic weightlifting and other stuff. And I just went in and like, my mind was just blown. So I was always just kind of obsessed with like just getting stronger, being in the gym. And that was always just where I felt comfortable and felt good, and was something I was always super interested in. So I was lucky from a young age that I figured out something that I wanted to do and wanted to get into. And that led me, to Penn State and doing a lot of stuff like powerlifting. And, it just kind of grew from there. But I was just lucky that I kind of just always knew where I wanted to be and, what I wanted to dive into. And that's what I'm doing now every day.
I love that. Through fitness, though, people sometimes fall in love with that type of a lifestyle, but they may not have the, who you are, your coaching ability, just the way that you connect with people, building relationships. You're entrepreneurial, which is big. You're building this brand that I think is, just going to continue to get bigger and bigger, which is Fieldhouse. Were you always that person?
Not really.
So then how? So I want to know, how did you turn into the Ryan that you are now then?
Yeah, a lot of it comes from my parents. I mean, my parents, my father ran his own business. He worked in construction. My mother worked in the hospital system for 40 years. So work ethic was always a thing in our family culture. I mean, my mom did 12-hour shifts at the hospital, and my father worked 7 days a week trying to grow his own business. So in our family, everything was always very work driven. And I was an athlete, and I was into working out, and I was always very active. But, so it just, I wanted to go, I thought about going into physical therapy. Because back then, like, personal training 15 years ago wasn't really like a huge career path for a lot of people. Hard to make money, mostly commission based, horrible hours, weekend hours, you work holidays. So I was trying to figure out how to make like a career for myself. I thought, so you go down the route of thinking about like, maybe I'll be an orthopedic surgeon, maybe I'll be a physical therapist, maybe I'll be a doctor. But I always went back to the gym, and that's kind of where I wanted to be. So I remember having a conversation with my father of, I was looking at physical therapy school and like being an orthopedic surgeon or something like that. And I was like, I just kind of don't want to do that. I don't think that's what I want to do. I was like, I want to do something in the gym world, in the fitness world, something with coaching. My dad kind of said to me, he's like, I don't really know anything about any of that stuff. He's like, but I could tell you, if you just become the best in your field, you'll be okay. You'll find a way to make money. So I kind of just became obsessed with that, just doing so much education, reading books, audiobooks, taking courses, just expanding my knowledge and going into all sorts of different things. Because I was like, if I could just figure out how to be the best in the gym world, I could figure out how to be successful in a career that a lot of people move out of, because a lot of people have trouble finding success in that field.
Who was your mentor? So for me, when I first started, this is prior to Alpha, I had my mentor, Michael Piercy,
yep.
And I got started at the West Caldwell New York Sports Club, and he was always about just always don't stop teaching and educating. So for you, who was your mentor?
Yeah, so some of the earlier people I found are people that you're probably familiar with, Matt, but I got very lucky, actually. So I think I was home from like freshman year of college, and I was working with my father in construction, just trying to save up some money over the summer. And we were having lunch one day, and I just noticed that there was like a training studio in the strip mall that we were in that had like a smoothie bar. And I was like, I'm just going to go in there and get a smoothie and just like talk to this guy that's in there, just hang out in the gym for a couple minutes. So, I went in and I talked to him about what I was doing at Penn State, what I wanted to do in the future. And, this guy, we're just sitting at like the smoothie bar, and he's like, hey, well, he's like, take this flyer for this thing. He's like, it's this conference that's going on. It's one of the biggest personal training conferences in the country. He's like, you should go check it out. There's a lot of good speakers. You could buy books there, look at other stuff. So I went home that night and just registered for this conference, which was at the Rhode Island Convention Center in Providence. And I drove up there by myself. I got like a $40 motel like down the street in Providence, which wonderful. But as you can imagine. And then when I went there, I just like bought all these books and like saw all these people speak. And I was just like, again, I was like, 19, 20 years old, and my mind was just blown with like everything that went on at this conference, and kind of introduced me to like this whole other world out there. And that's the first time I saw Mike Boyle speak. I saw Martin Rooney speak. I saw Todd Durkin speak. I saw Gray Cook speak. So a lot of these, I know that those guys are.
Yeah, Mike's
I'm
like,
just taking it in. That's all I'm doing. I'm absorbing.
These are guys that work with NFL teams and the Olympics and the military and the Department of Defense.
They've transformed how the human body and performance and how everything is looked at. Like combines, you go to the NFL combine. Gray Cook and his system is how they grade athletes and predict injury in athletes by just simply looking at the most basic movement patterns that a human being, a baby, an infant, will eventually learn without even having someone tell them. And then like some of these other guys that have just transformed the industry. So
this is like, I just stumble upon this conference. I go in, and then I go home and just start signing up for stuff. I sign up for like a course here, a course there, and I'm ripping through these books. And that's where, I started spending a lot more time with like Martin Rooney, who was a big mentor for me. I took all of his courses, and I've traveled around and seen him speak and pretty much gone to everything. He's a huge inspiration for me. Todd Durkin, they're both New Jersey guys. They both grew up and started their careers in New Jersey.
Rooney's from where again?
He went to Sayreville High School.
Sayreville. Yeah, Durkin is from Brick, New Jersey.
And he went to Brick. Yeah, now these are guys that have, international businesses. And, Todd Durkin trained the San Diego Chargers, and Rooney was in the Olympics. And, so it's funny because if I didn't literally just walk into that smoothie place at lunchtime, I would have never probably found any of this stuff, and I would have just went about my day. So now I'm actually 2 weeks from now, I'm going to the same conference, which I've now gone to 14 times.
And just to think about Ryan, when you first walked into that first conference, and now Ryan, now 14 years later, I bet you it's like almost like probably freaks you out a little bit. The difference who you are over the last 14 years, which is a good thing. They say, like, I don't know who said it, but like if you look back on yourself 5 years ago, 10 years ago, and you're not a little bit weirded out, like you're not like, ugh, like embarrassed in some sort or sure some sense, like people grow, and if you're not, then you're doing something wrong.
I'm embarrassed of myself from yesterday.
But
I don't know if I have to look that far back.
No, it is amazing, and now when I go there, I feel like at home, because there's so much networking stuff involved, and I've met so many great people there that I have awesome relationships with and talk business with all the time, and it's led me down so many different paths. So I always tell people, like I tell a lot of my trainers and stuff, that story about how I just walked in there and talked to somebody, because it kind of changed my whole life. So I'm like, it's just always worth going and just saying hi to people and having a conversation with somebody, because you'll always run into that one person that just gives you like some kind of tip or some kind of suggestion. And if you take action on that, it could just like change the whole trajectory of your life, just in like one little moment.
Yeah, it's one little thing that you take away, one person that you meet. And when I was working a Lifetime, the only reason why I'm not still working, in the fitness industry, I am partially. I still do some training, but I met one person. That person introduced me to my partner, and then the rest is history. And it is important to put yourself out there. And then back to what I was talking about in the way beginning was me understanding that I wanted to be a better version of myself for everybody around me, but also for myself. And you have to put yourself out there. Can you tell me, or tell everybody, talk about Fieldhouse? Obviously, I see you were sporting the hat, the shirt, the camera's going to be catching all of these shots, and we're going to be putting them out there. Tell us more about Fieldhouse.
Yeah, so it was a business that we started about 5-6 years ago now. And the basis of it was to help people with better corporate wellness. So I work, Matt's been there before, but I work on like a 200-acre corporate campus, and we do wellness programs with all the companies that work there. So we have companies like Hewlett-Packard, Samsung, some of the Pfizer, some big pharmaceutical businesses. So we basically started as a business with how do we make wellness just more convenient for people at work. So we built our first facility. We started building it in 2018, opened in 2019. And basically we, kind of started working with all these companies that they could provide this as a benefit to their employees. So we opened the gym. All of these employees got access to us while they were at work, which was all included to them as an employee. So they have no cost for anything. We're like full service in terms of personal training, nutrition, classes, yoga, meditation, different recovery services. And this is something that people just have access to like on their corporate campus. So you don't have to make an extra trip to a gym. You don't have to pay a membership somewhere else. And it's not just an office gym. This is somewhere where you get like high level coaching, high level service and education. And it's beautiful. I mean,
yeah, they have pool tables, they have golf simulators. Like, I don't want to go home when I'm there.
Yeah, so we really, we tried to make it, so that people can enjoy going to work and it could just be really convenient for them to adopt healthy habits while they're at work. So they could, it's a gym, but it's also, we have the whole game room. So there's pool tables, there's golf simulators, there's darts, shuffleboard, ping pong. So even if you're going into the gym, you could go into the gym and just shoot pool. But it at least gets you up out of your office. You take a break, you de-stress a little bit. People come in and put headphones in and hit golf balls for 15 minutes. So I saw this one guy come in and he's just has the most horrendous golf swing I've ever seen. And he's just like ripping golf balls. They're like pinging off the ceiling. And I walked over and I was just, I said hello and I was like, hey man, how's it going? He's like, man, I just had a shitty call and I just had to come in here and just like swing this golf club for 5 minutes. And I was like, that's cool. Like that's kind of, we provide this place where people can go and just kind of de-stress and hang out for a little bit. And, if you want to work out too, that's great. We're kind of there to help everybody out, no matter what they need.
Everybody knows the benefits and, just everything that comes with exercise. And if you're consistent with it, everybody knows it. I think that's universally adopted. We were talking about this the other day when we were working out. Why don't more people engage in it? Like, is it that first step of just they can't kind of get out of their own way and they can't make that first step? Is it, they just make up reasons why they can't do it? Like, what is it? Why do you believe it in your years that you've been in the business?
Yeah, there's many different levels to that. I mean, so as a gym, it's like, who's my biggest competitor? And it's not even other gyms. It's all the stuff that people want to do besides go to the gym, right?
That's your biggest
competitor. So it's like my biggest competitor
crazy.
is Netflix and like the couch, right? Because people have a hard day at work. They get home, they don't want to go to the gym. They want to go onto the couch and watch Netflix. So
and it's the easy. It's
the local
easy
bar, the local
steakhouse. Choice.
Yeah, they want to go de-stress at these other places, right? So my biggest competitor is actually getting people to see why they should choose the gym over those things. For some people, going off that point, like some people are so stressed and overworked and overtired and just not taking care of themselves that a lot of them don't have the energy to go start. You know what I mean? You get done with your day and you're just zapped. You know what I mean? Like at the end of a hard work day, who wants to go get on the treadmill and lift weights, especially if that's something that you don't enjoy doing, right? So it's really getting people to see why they should do it, and why it is important. When some people get to a level of deconditioning that they're at, there's, I think, a certain level of kind of embarrassment, in going in and not being capable and being so deconditioned that mentally it's a little hard to get over that sometimes, which is not what the gym should be, right? Everybody, like, we try to make our business where everybody's really comfortable coming in and getting involved in something. We have all these different services. It doesn't have to necessarily be like some sort of strength training class. There's so much other stuff that you could do. And another thing, we kind of talked about this the other day when you asked me in the gym, but I was like, I actually don't really think that people know what to do. You know what I mean? So like, you understand why to exercise, you understand why it's important, but it's like, okay, what do you do from there?
Yeah, you walk into
You step into the gym and there's all this stuff and there's all this equipment and there's all these people there. And I don't think people really know what to do. Yeah, so it's like most people end up walking on the treadmill or hopping on an elliptical, and which is great, but that's not really like a complete program that you're going to see any success with.
So this is a perfect segue, and why I believe, and this is one thing that why, if it wasn't for Alpha, and maybe there is a time in my life where I circle back and I spend a lot more time doing what I used to do full time, which is train and coach and lead. People need coaches. You said this to me. You're like, successful people seek out coaches to be better. And I think I don't understand why the personal training business, the personal training industry has not exploded
it
compared
should
to
be like
where
the biggest industry in the world.
Because your body, and this is where like so many people, and I'm gonna maybe shock a lot of people, but if you think spiritual health and if you think mental health is important, I'm here to tell you, I don't care what your nutrition is, when your body's moving right, when you're feeling good, you want to eat better, your mind feels better, you feel like you have a greater purpose because you have a cleaner headspace. Your physical health is like 90-something% of your body, and not to take care of that. And also, if people have that, I guess they're lost. They don't know where to start. Anything on a consistent basis is going to be good for you. But why not at least learn like the fundamentals? Like we go to school to learn how to read, how to write, to do all these things. Why are we not teaching people, hey, if you just warm up the body a certain way, get it loose, do a couple basic movements, get the body moving, do something that's actually productive, because you could do a lot of stuff, but it may not be productive, and then try and build something that actually has a program where it's programmatic and it actually builds off of something and you see growth because your body adapts. It's the most amazing thing in the world is the human body, in my opinion. Why people don't seek out coaching more.
Yeah, because for some reason with exercise, people think it's just intuitive. Like you're just going to know what to do. You know what I mean? And it's not that simple. People understand coaching and, in finance and like all this other stuff. But it's like, for some reason, people are kind of like, people come to me and they're like, oh, well, I'm just going to kind of try it on my own for a little bit. And, I like with, finance and investing and stuff like that, it's like, yes, people understand that you should invest and you should probably like save and make more money. But it's like, it's not that simple, right? Like someone can't just say, I'm going to go make more money. There's like a lot of steps you could take, and there's like tips that people can give you, and there's coaches that do this stuff, and people hire those coaches all the time. But for some reason with exercise, people are like, well, I don't really need a coach. I like, I
mean, accountability and consistency, I think, are the two big things that can derail somebody. Like if you're doing something and just inconsistent, it's not going to work. And then also the accountability. I think that's also what helps feed the consistency, is having the accountability. Like for me, I know what I'm supposed to do, but every week, like I look forward to every week because I know that I'm going to go work out with you, whether I want to that day or not. There are more days that I want to do it. In the beginning, it was the reverse probably. But, I look forward to it because I know that as soon as I get done with it, and this is where it's a muscle that you have to train in your brain, a mental muscle, is that as soon as you walk out, you start feeling better. So as soon as you can just get past those first two steps, which is they say like tying the shoes and walking in the gym, tying your shoes, because they say that there's a scientific statistic that if you just put your shoes on, the shoes that you usually wear when you go to the gym, there's a high likelihood that you're not going to not go. And then also if you just open up the door, I think, what was they saying? That what's the heaviest weight in the gym? The heaviest weight in the gym is the door handle. Pulling that door open. And once you're in, and I would extend it. Actually, when I was in Portugal, I was talking to a gentleman and he was vibing with me and we were kind of bouncing ideas off of each other because he understands the scientific benefits of exercise and he kind of does it, but he's been a little off his game lately. And I was telling him, I was like, the first 5 minutes are the hardest. You just get through those first 5 minutes and even lower the bar a little bit. I think so many people, they raise this bar. Like I always thought, and this is my own personal self-limiting belief, I always believed that I had to be 100% from start to finish during my workout. And like I would not go work out because I knew that during the day, like I would be like psyching myself up. Am I ready to go 100 miles an hour as soon as I walk in? But really, it's a ramp-up period. Yeah. And just get through that first 5 minutes and then everything is downhill from there.
Well, that's why a lot of people drop off because they make this plan and then as soon as it's not perfect, it's like, well, I screwed up and it didn't work and whatever. And it's, Yeah, it's like if you made one bad investment and you lost money, and it's like, all right, well, I'm just gonna throw out all my money. I'm just trying to get rid of all of it because it didn't work, and you know what, whatever. But yeah, so it's like, and that's just gonna happen all the time. You're gonna slip up. Every day is not gonna be perfect, and it's just about getting incrementally better over time. And a lot of what a coach does for you is like, it just takes the like mental work out of it for you, right? Like when you make your appointments to me, all you have to do is show up. And then from there, you don't really have to, besides exercising, you don't have to do anything. I like set up the stuff for you, show you what to do, tell you what to do. And it's just, you're getting something productive done where you don't have to do like the mental work. You know what I mean? That's done for you in a way that's designed around you and designed to be the most productive thing for you. So you don't have to go in, like think about what you're going to do that day or like walk around the gym and try to figure it out. Like you just walk in, it's like super efficient and you just knock it out. And you just make your appointments and you do that. I mean, it's literally the reason I have a job is because people, if it wasn't for me standing there, they just wouldn't do it.
And I know so many people that every single week, the only reason that they show up is because of that appointment. And if they didn't have that appointment, they would not be there. And I have many people that their only workouts are when they work out with me.
Because it's very easy to justify your behavior to yourself. You know what I mean? You'll always find a way to justify why you're doing what you're doing, so you probably shouldn't skip a workout that day, but you're like, oh, I kind of got bad sleep, and you know what, you only live once, so it's
what's a little bit of
spend my time working
what's
out
a little
today
bit more, maybe I could rest a little bit more. I should be recovering.
You know what, man, you've been working really hard lately. Why don't you just take today off and tomorrow and all of next week as well? Because you should do that for yourself.
When people say that they're not good at selling, I think that is like the most hilarious comment. If you think you're not a salesman or saleswoman in just life in general, everybody is selling themselves on micro decisions every single day. So if somebody, I love because obviously sometimes we have loan officers that come in or people that work for us and they're like, I'm not good at selling. The reason why you're not good at selling is because you're trying to just create a self-limiting belief, but you sell yourself on things every single day.
You're selling yourself on that fact. That's the way that you are.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Let's see. Tips that you would give somebody who's feeling a little lost, feeling a little bit overwhelmed, not sure what to like. So you're me right before I got started. If I wasn't, willing to make that step and call you, what are some things that you would tell for somebody? Because I know how many times I go to these real estate events and people invest in themselves so much in all these different areas. They invest in their money, they invest in education, but then their body, their temple is the least taken care of thing in the world. What would you suggest to those people?
Yeah, going off what we were just talking about, it's a huge mental game. So I always try to teach my clients, I'm like, you know yourself, and you know the conversations that go on in your head, and you need to figure out strategies to combat yourself. You know what I mean? I'm going to run into this situation and I know that I'm going to probably act this way, right? Like I'm going to go to this barbecue and I'm going to tell myself like, oh, I'm just going to have one drink. I'll try to stick to like protein, maybe have some vegetables. I'm not going to eat like 16 hamburgers. Like I'm just not going to do it. And then you go to the barbecue and you just eat like 16 hamburgers, have like 10 drinks. And like, there's a lot of things in my life where I make this plan. And then in the back of my head, I'm like, I know I'm not going to do that. I know that that's not going to happen. And I think when people make like exercise programs, they are like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. And I'm like, are you really going to do that? I'm like, it sounds like a great plan, but like, is that actually what you're going to do? And they're like, yeah, we'll see how it goes. And then like 2 weeks later, they're like, I didn't do any of that. Literally not one thing that I just said I was going to do.
So what's the counterpoint to that, though?
So it's
because you're saying it happens. So it's like, there's either it's always going to happen, or you're leaving it up, to people to figure out how to deal with their own demons, which never works.
So you need to, part of it is being honest with yourself, right? Like I need to make a plan that I know is going to work for me. And I have to make all the strategies of how I'm going to make that as easy as possible. Right. Hiring a coach is a great start because when you make the appointment, you put it in your calendar, you block off that time, you know that you're going to go, right? Instead of leaving it up like, oh, I'm going to work out tomorrow, and then stuff happens, you get busy at work, you end up not working out tomorrow. And it's like, oh, well, I'll work out tomorrow. You know what I mean? So you need to look at your calendar, get it in there, figure out just how to make it just really, really, really easy for yourself and just be honest. Is this something that I actually see myself doing? So when I make a plan with a client, at the end, I'm like, look at this and let me know if this, you think this is really going to work for you, or else maybe we need to switch some things up or scale some things back and just start with a little simpler. And, we need to both agree, if you say, hey, I could make this work, I'm going to do this. For then it's my responsibility to hold you accountable to that. But you have to just make it as easy as possible and see it in your mind as something that you actually can see yourself doing. And then just making it happen, and then just taking incremental steps from there and just hitting small measures and just keep trying to switch things up. Cause habits work. I mean, it takes, when you try to switch up your habits, it takes a lot of mental energy. A lot more planning, a lot more steps involved. And then that just gets easier over time. I mean, I forget how long they say for a habit to stick, but it's you have to be very proactive and part of the process for a while until it starts to just become something that you're just competent with, even just unconsciously.
Habits, it takes, and I love that you brought that up. It generally, how long do you think it would take to change a habit?
3 weeks.
Yeah, what did I say, 20, 21
days? It's 21 days. Some people will say 28 days, a month. They round it off to a month. But basically, if you were able to not do something just for a week, not even 2 weeks, because you could regress, but if you get past that third week, and that's why some of the things that I love that we do at Alpha, I'm always thinking of things at a 3-4 week pace, because if you're doing it for that amount of time, it's going to be built in. It's going to be conditioned. Another thing about habits that I love, statistically speaking, if you were to, you were talking about how, if you have a program and you're I'm going to do A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and you're y'all, okay. because literally, if you have more than 3 things you're trying to change, it is single digits of your success, your potential for success. You're almost, I think it's 3% or 1%, whatever it is. What do you think if you're going to try and change one specific thing? So today, Mike, you decide, I'm going to look at my life overall and I'm going to change one thing. What do you think the success rate is for you to maintain it?
0.3%.
0.3%? 30%?
No. I think my odds of changing it are very low.
I'm saying the human being.
A human being?
A human being.
Yeah, probably they have a third of a chance.
Yeah, well, it's 70+%. So if one thing was I'm going to,
I'm below
average. I'm giving Fiji a nice shout out. If I'm going to drink more water every single day for 3 weeks, I'm going to just drink 3 or 4 waters a bottle, or bottles of water. You have a 70+% chance, basically 3 and 4 chance of keeping it and having it conditioned. When you start going to 2, it drops down to what you're talking about, where now you're basically in the 30% range. And then as soon as you get to a third thing that you're trying to do all at once, then it drops down to basically where you're throwing a dart against the wall and just hoping for the best.
I'm on the wrong side of this bell curve. That's all I know.
But little things are good, right? There's a lot of people, if I could just get them to walk for 15 minutes a day and drink more water, they would feel like a different person. But that doesn't seem like that much of a plan, right? That doesn't seem like a very comprehensive strategy for anything. But it's something that would cause a tremendous amount of change in people.
It's practical, and it will be... It'll be conditioned, and you can layer things. And that's what I've tried to do. And I'm not trying to, pat myself on the back, but I've noticed that I knew over time that if I do a lot of things at once, it doesn't work. And there's science and statistics that show that it doesn't work for almost everybody. So what I started to try and do was the first thing was I'm going to get my workouts in a little bit more consistently. And then I noticed that my body would start to feel not as good, because obviously I had a lot of dysfunction. And because of that, me sitting at a desk and doing all the things I do, sitting in a car all day, my body would break down. So now all of a sudden I'm doing something that's positive and I'm exercising, but then my result, what I'm getting as my output, is pain. And then I had to realize that, okay, even though I'm doing something good, the thing that was bothering my body, I have to address that. So because I was now consistent with my workouts, the next thing I started to do was the body work that I started to do with this person that basically does my my massages every month. And it helped me, like that 6-month period changed my life. Like I have felt so much better over the last decade. In just 6 months, I felt like I basically worked off what I did to my body over 10 years. And then that actually helped me during my workouts, because now what happened was I would work out and like my calves would hurt or my shoulder would hurt or my back would hurt. And then I wouldn't be able to do certain exercises because I don't want to feel pain. And there's a whole nother conversation that we could talk about chasing pain versus people run away from pain. But that would be my thing. I would be like, it hurts to work out. And like, I'm somebody who understands it works. So I'm like, okay, I just got to work through it. I got to work through it. But somebody starts going to the gym, it's hard enough just to work out. And now you're not feeling good. I mean, that is a recipe for disaster for somebody to just not do it at all.
Yeah, and part of it is just instant gratification, and people just want stuff so quickly. You know, when you start working out, you'd like to see... It's funny when someone works out and then they weigh themselves like the next day. It's like... it takes a little bit longer than that.
I did that.
Yeah, like right after your workout.
I'm like, am I lighter? Am I lighter?
Yeah, you weigh yourself like 2 hours later. It's like, it didn't even work. But, you know, people just, when they start changing things and changing habits, they want everything to happen so quickly. And, you know, I think like things like meditation and journaling and just visualization is just, it's important to just remind yourself why, you know, you're making those changes and what it's going to do for you. When people start getting results, they get excited, but there's that period where you don't see any results yet and you're putting in a lot of work. Because for some people who are deconditioned, like it's going to take some time. You know, if you just spent years not really doing much, a week's not going to change a lot of stuff. So it's, you know, there's that period where that's when it kind of, it becomes about willpower, because, you know, you're putting in all this work, you're not really seeing a lot of results. And then it's like, how do you keep yourself going? And it's just, you know, remembering why you started in the first place. You know, and the fact that exercise is going to help anybody with just like their purpose in life. You know what I mean? Kind of like Matt talked about, when you start feeling better, you're mentally clear, you have more energy, you're sleeping better, you know, and your body's physically capable of handling more stress. It's going to help anybody do anything. You know what I mean? This is why all kinds of highly successful people exercise, right? Because it doesn't matter what industry you work in or what your goal is or what kind of business you run, like exercise will help you. You know, will give you that mental clarity. It will make you more resilient. You know, and there's a certain level of confidence that comes with getting fit, right? When you're able to push through a hard workout and you're doing that a couple days a week and you feel like your body is more capable, you know, you have more energy, you could deal with stress better, you get a certain degree of confidence, you know, from that feeling. And I think that's where you really see change in people, like mentally and spiritually, when they start to change. So it's like exercise is for everybody. Like we're all humans. Yeah. Everyone's human physiology basically works the same way. We're genetically a little bit different, but exercise helps everybody with everything.
And right, and especially now with where we are as a society, we've evolved as human, as our species. There was a point where, like we talk about, like way before we were developed world, like you'd be out there and it was survival every day. That was literally all you were trying to do, is you were trying to protect your family, eat your food that you need to like protect yourself, protect your family, and that was all you had to do. And like there's a lot of pros that come along with the life and the world that we live in now, but at the same time, like we sometimes just back off of the physical aspect.
Yeah, with great power comes great responsibility.
Yeah.
Because you know, when you look at, you know, it's like we have so much knowledge around exercise. There's gyms on every corner. You could buy a mirror where someone pops up and works out with you at your house.
There's an app.
So it's, you know, exercise and information about exercise is more accessible than it's ever been before in history, right? In the era of kind of information and technology. So why is the country still getting more overweight every year when we have all these resources? And, you know, when you look at it, it's not that hard to figure out, because everything, like you just said, Matt, is designed around making your life more convenient. So now, like you said, you used to have to like go to a store and like cook your food and then like clean up and stuff. And now there's an app where like you could get another guy to go pick up your takeout and bring it to your house for you.
Not only are you getting takeout, but you're having somebody go get your takeout.
Yeah, like you don't even go get the takeout anymore. You pay a guy to go get your takeout and drop it off on your couch. So it's like the world is moving towards like every big company is like solving problems around making life more convenient for people, right? So it's easy to fall into that trap where it's just like, you know, you just kind of pay somebody for everything, right? Like you pay somebody to mow your grass, you pay somebody to put up your Christmas lights, you pay someone to go pick up your food for you. And, you know, it's amazing. Like I love technology. I love using technology. I love when I travel now and there's like GPS and Waze and all sorts of different stuff. Like technology could be super wonderful. And with all these things you have access to, it just depends like how you use it, you know? So I use all those things too to save time, but you know, it just comes down to like, you know, how you utilize your time.
I love what you said. You said with great, what was it? Great
power
comes great responsibility.
Spider-Man.
Matt was like, I want to understand who the deep thought was from.
Yeah, but it's like we have all these things at our disposal now, and it's like, you know, you kind of have the responsibility of how you utilize these things. Do you use your power for good or for evil?
You know, it's funny though. I don't even know if it's sometimes even that black and white. I think people don't even realize they have the power to even use it. They don't even know.
Sure.
So it's like it's less even of that question as, you know, what do you do with all this? They're like, they don't even know that they have it. Like it's so.
So what? How do we
so
solve
there,
for that? Right.
You know?
He's in it full time. I live and breathe it every day. It's just who I am. How do we get more people to see that they have it?
I'm not sure that I'm the best one
What
to
about-
answer
what about-
this
what about
specific
you?
question. For
I mean,
those
it's-
watching on YouTube, I am definitely not the best one to answer this specific question. But
It's just like education and awareness, right? You know, some people just need to step up and like have a voice and just kind of shout it from the rooftops about how easy it could be, and just how important it is. Like I said, like exercise, especially with our business, with what we try to do, we work with a lot of office people. I mean, 95% of our clientele is desk-bound office people that kind of sit at a desk on calls, in meetings all day long. Yeah, I got to figure out a way for them to come in, to get them in first and buy into it and see why they should even do it in the first place. And then like we kind of touched on already, like how can I make it just super welcoming and just convenient and easy for people? Because that's what people need. I mean, you just need the easiest way to get it into your day. Because a lot of people with exercise, kind of like we spoke about before, people think it needs to be perfect. For some reason, people think you need to exercise for an hour. I don't know. That's like a totally made up thing that everything's like all classes, training sessions, workouts. I'm like...
That was because of business, by the way, Mike. Where
everything's kind of scheduled on the hour.
The personal training industry was built off of 60-minute and 30-minute sessions. And then... for some reason, now the world, our society is conditioned.
It's like totally made up. It's very like people are like, oh, so it's an hour, right? I'm like, I'll train you for 32 minutes. I don't. How much time do you have? Because some people don't have an hour, and it's like, all right, well, we only do an hour, so you got to do an hour. It's like, well, I have an hour. It's like, all right, well, I guess you can't exercise. No, like you could literally see benefit from like 5 minutes of exercise a day. You know, it doesn't. So people think you need to have this crazy time investment or you need to go get an expensive membership or something. And it could just be way more simplified than that. And it doesn't take a huge dose for people to get a response. You know, it could be very simple, easy things. And then from there, I mean, you could just try to progress. And once that habit is set in, like we talked about, you can move on to something a little bit different. But it could just be the most basic, easy first step. And, you know, like for me with our business, like we need to make it fun. I mean, people like to do stuff that's fun, right? I don't know how often you go seek out something that you just have no fun doing. You know, so how can we make exercise and this kind of stuff more palatable and just more fun, you know, and get people together where there's a community aspect to it and people are doing it together. Group training is phenomenal. We do a ton of small group training, you know, so you get a couple buddies and you guys come in and work out together, you know, then you're all doing it together and everyone's, you know, it's like-minded individuals who are all trying to change and it's more fun when you're there. I'm always like the most to me, I see like just putting your headphones in and going back in the gym to just be like miserable. I don't know.
We're already introverted people just by nature. Like we're always working, doing our job. We're always tunnel vision. And I found just the more that you're around people, you feed off of them, as long as it's positive energy, obviously.
Yeah, that's right. So we try to do the bulk of our business around getting people together, we have tons of different group types of programs for all different types of exercise and all different time durations. So we found in the office, we have classes that are 15 minutes long because, if someone could do that instead of nothing, you could run down really quick, get changed, be really efficient for 15 minutes and then go back to work. And talk about a nice like midday break where you're mentally away from work, you're physically in a different space. You're getting up, moving, sweating, and you go back to your desk and you're like a changed person. Totally refreshed. I don't think people realize how much sitting around just kind of zaps your energy. I'm very sensitive to it now because I'm a mover. I'm always up and moving and kind of fidgeting, and I have a really hard time sitting down at my desk for more than like 5 minutes. And, I have to I'm the opposite. I have to force myself to like sit down and do some work because otherwise I'll just like, wipe down the mirrors, rack weights, like walk around, go for a walk, work out again. But, there's just stuff that could just be so easy for people. And it just really can be super simple.
What I also love about what you guys do at Fieldhouse is you guys have also like real like life community type things. Like one thing that he has at Fieldhouse, puppy yoga. So they have a actual class where you do yoga and they have little puppies that are like crawling up on your shoulder and licking you and giving you kisses. And you have like art classes where like you're a painting if you want to learn how to paint or you just want to just go paint. Like you can do that. And
so we have we have a full social calendar. So every month there's a list that goes out for all social events, and a lot of them have nothing to do with exercise because that's us trying to build more of a community type of thing. Where you can come hang out in our gym and just do anything. You could hit golf balls, you could paint. We even have a bar downstairs, and
they had a really really competitive ping pong tournament that went on. It was in the office, so some of these people may not work out, but they were so into the Connell or the Fieldhouse ping pong tournament.
Ping pong's huge.
You said there were like 100 people. Like there's like multiple levels in this main area, and people were hanging like on the second level, looking down and like cheering on. What were some of the guys? What was the guy's name?
Dipnol won.
Dipnol.
Yeah.
Dipnol.
But that's we just want people to come in. I don't even care why you're coming in, but it's it just makes it a comfortable space for people where they don't have to feel. You walk into a gym, it usually looks a certain way. You walk into our gym, it just looks like a big adult playground where there's also. But
it's my dream.
Yeah, so we're just getting people
definitely your dream.
In the door and comfortable, just coming in and meeting some other people and just having a space where maybe they just even go hang out. And that's part of the stress management aspect of the business. We're getting some people to come in and laugh. And play some games and different stuff. And then that just gets them coming into the gym. And then eventually we hope that they actually go back into the gym and do some other stuff too. But, it could really just start with something that's more social and just meeting other people that are there. And then you're just more likely to work out. And that's good.
I think this has been an outstanding hour where I think most people can take so much from what we just talk about. If it's just one small minor decision, a micro adjustment in your life, it can change your life. And even if you want to change your life some more, well, you can do it again. As we spoke about it, doing these small little micro adjustments, not all together, but doing them sequentially and letting one kind of become, second nature, so to speak. And Ryan, dude, I really appreciate you coming on here today. I think I've learned. I'm continually learning from you, and hopefully this has been an inspiration for a lot of people here on the show. And if they wanted to contact you, how would they contact you?
So if you want to find our website, it's fieldhousenj.com. Lots of great photos of me on there if you want to take a look at the gallery. But no, it lays out all of our services. We're looking at really expanding and building a wellness brand. So taking this model that we do that's very social, a big mixture of things that we do and just expanding hopefully into other places and just reaching more people. Right now, our current big facility is in Berkeley Heights, New Jersey. So we're right in North Central Jersey. And it's, we're just trying to always expand so we could just help more people. I mean, so I think the important stuff that we touched on is just, to just think about, why you want to change. Just realize that exercise is one of the best vehicles to change yourself. When you start to experience just, like I said, just that confidence that you get from it, when you start to see yourself change, you have more energy. It could change your whole life. So it's really, you don't have to start with anything too crazy. You could just really start with just something very small. I'm biased, but I think the best thing is to just get a coach. It's, with anything else, if you're trying to understand and learn something and change, just go find someone who can help you. And that doesn't even have to be hiring a coach for a lot of money or something. Just find someone who's knowledgeable, someone who could even just workout partners are like the best thing that you could do. You text your buddy, you go meet up, you guys do a little exercise, and then whatever, it could just be really, really, really easy. A lot of the small gyms have great communities. The more people you're around who are encouraging, welcoming, inviting, just trying to get everybody on the same page and just have some fun with it. Just find either a place to go or somebody to work with or a coach you can hire. Because it's just really hard to do it on your own, and there's just so many great communities and great coaches and people who are trying to help other people and just seeking out those types of opportunities, because people already do that with other things, right? Like we talked about, it's just, you always look for some sort of education, but for some reason with exercise and wellness, people just think it's ingrained in you and it's just intuitive that you're going to know what to do. And I've learned in the last 15, 20 years, I'm still learning new stuff every day. And I think for you, you worked in the personal training industry, and I think you're still learning a lot from me, and I still learn a lot from other coaches. So it's really, just finding people who are good influences on you, and just, partly being honest with yourself, and just starting to just make some small steps in the right direction. Because I think, like we talked about today, it doesn't have to be a huge time investment, doesn't have to be a huge financial investment. Small changes sometimes make big change, especially with your health. If you're someone who hasn't done anything for a long time, doing anything is gonna change you. It's gonna make you feel good. So it's just get out and start somewhere.
Yeah.
And if you're in our area, come hang out with us.
Should definitely check out Fieldhouse in Berkeley Heights. What you've done at Fieldhouse is incredible. I actually just remembered what I want to do. We're going to do a rapid fire with Ryan. I want unfiltered. I want to know, there's some things out there, and obviously we're trying to go with the most recent things that are out there when it comes to health and wellness in the fitness industry. I want you to just give me just your unfiltered thoughts on what you think of some of these things. First thing, everyone takes pre-workout. What are your thoughts on pre-workout supplements?
So there are a lot of really bad supplements, and there are a lot of really good supplements. So there's a lot of different certifications that you could look into for supplements. A lot of supplements are crap. And I would say be careful with your use of caffeine. So some people are already tired, then they take a lot of caffeine so they could get through the day. Then they can't go to sleep, and then they're really tired the next day too, shockingly. So then they take more caffeine, and then they become kind of sensitive, but less sensitive to the caffeine. Then they take more caffeine and sleep worse. And then a lot of people are kind of stuck in that cycle. So I would just say, when it comes to stimulants and things like that, just be aware of how it's making you feel and how much you're consuming. But otherwise, there are some good pre-workout products out there.
So would you go thumbs up or thumbs down?
I take non-stimulant pre-workouts. So I take pre-workouts that don't have any stimulants. So it has amino acids, other things to promote blood flow, things like that, make you feel a little bit better. I think those are great. Caffeine also works really well. Like I said, it's just, you have to know when you're forming a habit with it, as opposed to just using it for a little bit of a boost.
All right, running and cardio. I know so many people have different thoughts on cardio in general. I know it's sometimes relative, but what are your thoughts?
Running is wonderful.
Okay.
If you can do it. So you also don't have to do it at all. So running is actually a pretty complex form of movement. It's sort of technical. It's another one of those things that people just think they know how to run. But it's something that you have to kind of build up to. I'm a huge fan of walking for health. The more you walk throughout the week, I think that's going to pay huge dividends for you. The more minutes you spend just logging outside walking every week. So if you can't run, you can walk. If you're feeling pretty good walking, you can walk a little faster. That's also pretty good. And the thing with cardiovascular exercise is that whatever gets your heart rate up is going to be beneficial. It could be a bike, it could be a rowing machine, it could be an elliptical. Whatever you like to do, as long as your heart rate's up, you're sweating, that's going to have cardiovascular benefit. So running is great if you like it and you could do it and it makes you feel good, but you also don't have to do it for any reason.
So what about the cold plunge craze that has taken over the world?
It's fine. It's if you like doing it. So they've shown that it does give you a little dopamine boost. So when you do it, you do get out and you feel pretty like mentally clear and you feel pretty good. It's one of those things where it's kind of like a minor factor. So it's not going to cause like some huge monumental change, but if you have access to one and you like it and you like doing it, like that's cool. It does help with some things, I think.
Beautiful. What about the keto diet? I know I haven't heard much about it lately, but I know everyone was all about keto. What are your thoughts on keto?
It's good for making people eat better foods sometimes if you do it the right way. So you shouldn't dip bacon in sour cream. But you can, it does typically get people to eat less carbohydrates, which usually makes them switch to a little bit better food options. So it's something that for a short period of time, it might help somebody, but with any diet change, it should be something that you could see yourself doing for a long time. Because if it's something that's too restrictive or you just don't really enjoy it, it's not going to last. But like I said, it's usually when people have tried it, they usually see success because they eat less carbohydrates, which is something people just overeat way too much of usually. And it usually makes people just have better food choices.
Are people very irritable on the keto diet, or can be?
They can be, yeah. So there's if you're used to,
Are people very irritable on any diet?
yeah, exactly. So
can be.
when
Don't
your body
take
is not
something away
used
from
to,
me.
When your body isn't used to getting what it's accustomed to,
Is water wet?
yeah, when there's like hormonal changes, things like that, yeah, people get really, they're not feeling 100%.
All right, next one, fasting, intermittent fasting, fasting in general. Good thoughts, good, bad. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it has health benefits. I think, again, it's not as important as other diet changes, but sometimes it's a good strategy. If you give people a smaller eating window, they usually eat less because they'll eat. Once you set some rules and you're like, I'm going to stop eating at 7 p.m. and I'm not going to eat until 11 a.m. the next day, usually people will stick to that because that's like the rule. You know, there's like one rule. It's like don't eat at these times. And it's very simple to just not eat. That doesn't take like a lot of planning or effort or anything. You just don't eat. And then usually when people are hungry, they have like a big lunch because they just didn't eat for like 16 hours. And then they'll be full. They'll eat like a small dinner and then they won't eat again. So it's like a useful strategy for restricting your calories. But again, for some people, depending, it can be kind of stressful on your body. You can ramp up a lot of those hunger hormones and then rebound where you're like, you know what, F this. And I'm just gonna house everything that I can get my hands on right now. So it's, it could be a useful tool, but again, it's, anything with diet, it's just finding what seems to fit into your lifestyle just the best. But it can be useful.
All right, and what about Ozempic? You know, not for people that have diabetes, but the people that are looking at using it for superficial, you know, to lose weight because they want to be a little bit thinner.
Yeah, it's kind of the next big thing for wellness is some of these drugs for weight loss and the GLP-1 activators. So it's another thing. It could be an incredible tool. I think it's going to be a huge thing in the future. Just like when they discovered insulin, right? Like tons of people becoming diabetic, they discover insulin, they help a ton of people, keep a ton of people alive. This might be similar, like a huge change where it really helps a lot of people. The thing is that I think you need to pair it with some education and some coaching. I think people just prescribing the drug and people just using it could be a little bit dangerous.
What are some of the dangers you see potentially?
Yeah, because it's really the first drug that acts on your brain to suppress your appetite. So they're really like down regulating, you know, your feelings of hunger, which is great because it makes people eat less. But the thing is, when people start, you still need to pair it with better diet habits. Because if people start losing a lot of weight really rapidly because they're not eating as much, they also could lose a lot of weight that they don't want to lose, like muscle tissue and healthy tissue.
That's what I've been seeing. I see a lot of people, they're malnourished. They're not getting enough protein. They're losing muscle.
Yeah.
And muscle is what kind of drives your metabolism, a large part of it.
Yeah, so if you're eating way less, but you just eat like a couple Pop-Tarts, Like you'll lose weight, but that's probably not really also healthy. You know what I mean? So it's, you still need to kind of do the work in terms of like strength training a little bit, eating a better diet, getting nutrients in, getting good foods in. But this is going to be something that helps you out tremendously. But you also need to do the other stuff, or else you're going to end up with kind of like a skinny, fat person who's smaller. They've lost a lot of weight, but they've also lost a lot of muscle, and they still don't really feel well because maybe they didn't make dietary changes or actually like make useful changes along, with that drug.
That was amazing, Mike.
Yeah, I learned a lot here. I really appreciate you coming in.
Thanks so much, guys.
I took a lot of that in.
Good. Yeah, that's really, I think what I've figured out is that, for Matt, I could write Matt the greatest program and the greatest diet that I know is going to work. And I give it to Matt, and I come back in a couple weeks and Matt didn't do it. It doesn't really matter, right? I'm just using Matt as an example. But so it's what I've learned is, you can write the greatest program in the world, but if you can't get people to do it, it doesn't really matter. You could write up the best plan in the world for somebody. So I've just kind of learned that you have to coach the person, and not the program. So a huge thing is just understanding, people's psychology and just speaking to them in a way that they understand and it resonates with them. And just so the biggest thing for me in our business is getting people to do stuff. Like I said, with the information now, like we know what to do. We know what works. There's plenty of research about X, Y, and Z. There's not a lot of confusion about stuff these days. Everyone kind of knows what to do, but we're moving into like, how do we get people to do that? Which is where, like I said, with our business, we try to make it more social, more fun, more inviting. And for someone like myself, like I have to be more motivational, I have to tap into figuring out what makes you tick and try to, communicate why you should do these things and just always have that as a constant reminder. So that's why I think like reflection, meditation, and journaling and things like this, like, why do people do anything, right? Because it serves some sort of purpose. They find enjoyment in it. And we need to find a way to make exercise that for people.
And to start, definitely if you're in the New Jersey area, make a point to go check out Fieldhouse in Berkeley Heights. It is incredible. I love going there every week. Ryan, thank you so much for coming on here.
Yeah, thanks, guys. This was awesome. Yeah, for sure.
And that's another episode of the Mike and Matt Show. We'll catch up with you later. Be great, everyone. Thank you for listening to another episode of the Mike and Matt Show. We hope you enjoyed the episode. Please subscribe, follow, like, and comment on whatever podcast platform you listen to all of your favorite podcasts. If you have a guest that you would like to see on the show or have a topic that you would like to hear covered, please email us at podcast@alphafunding.com. Again, I'm your host, Matt Weber, and my partner, Michael Strasser. Be the best version of yourself and take action. Life is meant to be explored. Be great, friends.